deutschen Staat mit allen Mitteln zu bewahren und man sich immer wieder gerne rat. Bei Gesetzen von vor 60 Jahren und was früher die Gestapo war, ist heute das BKA. Nur damals setzte man Henker ein und heute gibt es die GSG 9. Kopfschuss, das war kein Selbstmord, das war Mord. Kopfschuss, ihr habt gelogen seit dem ersten Wort. Kopfschuss, das war ein mieser Feigemord. Kopfschuss, und ich glaube euch kein Wort, nie mehr ein Wort. Ist die Regierung erst in Panik, gilt weder Ordnung noch Moral. Das Gesetz wird ausgeschaltet und das Menschenrecht egal. Polizei ist Staat im Staat, Selbstherrlichkeit regiert. Ist der Staatsfeind lokalisiert, wird auf Rambo attackiert. Und was früher die Gestapo war, ist heute das BKA. Nur damals setzte man Henker ein und heute gibt es die GSG 9999. Kopfschuss, das war kein Selbstmord, das war Mord. Kopfschuss.
Hello, everybody. How are you? I hope you guys are doing really well. I hope everything is going awesome.
Und ich glaube euch kein Wort, nie mehr ein Wort.
I'm listening to Wieso. Really like this German band from way back. Man, I was like 15 years old when I heard that band. And I was like the only one in my peer group that liked them. They were a member of the Fat Records. Oh, my back is sore. It's the back of an old dude that did a lot over the weekend and just could not get enough rest. Pedro, how are you? Eddie, I think you're there somewhere as well. How is everybody? How are everybody? I always like to talk about the bands that we open with. And I've also got something else to show you guys today. If you guys are curious as to how I link things together, this is Sonobus. Usually it never, ever appears, but here it is today. Now, what are we doing today? Well, we're going to open this giant chain and we're going to just kind of take a bite out of some of the stuff that I've got loaded up. Not really taking out much. We're going to take out the TPA and the 9 gates here and say goodbye from last stream. And today, I'm going to introduce sort of a new kind of thing we're going to be doing here. Gotta love that compressor. Every little comes out in the mic. My cats all think I'm calling them right now. Unconcerned. They're all sleeping. Anyways, today I'm great. Today is the start of something different. I'm going to be starting to try to stream more and with a slightly smaller idea. I like to be on here for no less than 120 minutes when I do a live stream. I've been looking at it the wrong way. I was like, I don't have time for 2 hours today. Oh, 2 hours would put me well into the end of my evening. I just kind of want to relax a little bit more today. And then all of a sudden I'm out of time for the day or out of the weekend. I'm like, oh, fuck, what can I do? Well, what I can do is just do more streams and make them small and make them shorter. Okay. And during these streams, so I'm going to do daily streams. It's going to be at a roughly 4:20, just for cheeky reasons. But that is actually a good time. 4:30 is about 10 minutes. I mean, I typically get home from work at about, it can be 4 o'clock. Some days it can be later. Some days it can be earlier. Some days. So typically by around between 4 and 4:30, I'm going to try to do a bunch of streams daily, and they're going to be shorter. Minimum an hour, maximum 90 minutes, and I'm going to try to get a whole bunch more of these in and see if we have a good time with it. Now, the content that I'm going to be, the things I'm going to be doing in these streams are just basically how the fuck do I feel after work, and if I feel like rocking after work. If I feel like rocking after work, then we're going to do some, whatever it is I feel like jamming on, we're going to jam on it. I've got some news as well on NAM Universal. I know we discussed maybe having it be free, but I had basically misinterpreted some of the conversations as well. And I want to make it very clear that there's going to be a low intro price for V2. It is not going to be free. It's going to be paid. But there are going to be some stipulations. We are a lot of stipulations in that. And I want to explain all of that later on in the stream. I'm going to explain what we're going to be doing V2. And that is in the works currently. It's going to probably, I'm assuming it's going to be out inside the next, I don't know, could be a month. It could be less. It could be more. Really going to say. Thomas, how are you? Nice to see people here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be coming on here and just rocking on anything that I kind of feel motivated by that day. And today, I was thinking about Spark here. I know that they redid and they did Amp Box and they did a new Marshall, but the new Marshall is not this Marshall. And this is an older plugin called Mercurial Audio Spark. And if you've not heard of this company, then you've probably been under a rock, or you're brand new to the industry, brand new to the technology. These guys have been around way longer than most of the companies that are out right now. These guys are pioneers in the high quality, maybe the first, arguably one of the first high quality, high definition companies that really didn't care about machine needs and resources at the time. They're just like, these plugins, yeah, they're a little high on resource requirements right now, but in a couple of years, they won't be such a big deal. At the time, it seemed like an odd move, but now it doesn't seem like such an odd move anymore. So we're going to jam on some of the stuff inside Spark here. I know the UI is rather small, so even if I go go on the screen here. By the way, just re-upped with sit strings for the next year or so. I got an email back from them. The guy was just simply swamped, and got email back, and he says, "Let me know what you need, and we're gonna get some strings and yada yada." It's gonna be pretty sweet. And then they also gave me a different level of artist pricing for when I run out of my allotment. So that's pretty sweet as well. I'm very excited by this. I have a lot of guitars in need. I still have a lot of strings left, as I've got a lot of strings that are kind of meant for just like, I've got some Telecaster strings for a while. Now, if anybody has ever seen this channel before, if you see this guitar, you know that my aim and my goal for the stream is going to be either rock or punk rock, or maybe blues rock or southern rock or something else. There's going to be rock involved. Maybe, arguably, you can pull off like screamo-y, emo-y, some shoegaze type stuff. I don't know, but this guitar. But my goal is typically rock and the roll. So we're gonna do that today. Wow, this must be giving me a lot of juice. Let's check it out. Woo, that's a lot of juice indeed. I don't need that pedal. No. We don't need any of that. Okay, now for my IR today, I'm gonna go with like a completely custom rig. And what that is, I'm gonna use my own custom IR. My own pedal, likely at some point, but for now, I'm going to use the pedal involved. For this one, I think I'm going to go with Own Hammer. And I'm going to go to the Lynch back, the Marta Lynch, the old pack. If you've ever checked it out, if you haven't, you probably should. We're going to just go live around some of their blends, their mixes. They were the first company that I can recall ever doing the IR blendy mixy thing. For their users, and I always thought that was a really cool idea. They've changed over time with the ones with the names of and the mixes they offer, but the modern has always been a good feel for me, even if I'm not looking for a modern tone per se. Is this stupid smart shuffle again? It is too. You're gonna get me fucked up by fucking YouTube algorithms. Shut up, stop it. I don't need to get fucked up any more than I already do by that thing. By the way, we know you played the song. So we're just going to have to demonetize that. Oh my gosh, shush. I'm not going to monetize the channel anyway. Relax. All right, see what we got here. Now, if anybody ever tells you there's a lack of good Marshalls out there, oh my gosh. There's a certain user group whose name I'm not going to drop, that it's just the strangest thing, the way some user bases look at the market. I will say that. I'm not going to go and just drag anybody through the mud, but gosh, if there's one user group in particular that has a customer base that just does not understand the technology or the market or the industry or the inner workings or the anything or how they don't understand anything. They just want what they want, what they want, what they want, when they now. And it's a very interesting way that some people choose to look at the market. Now, the Marshall license, meaning the license giveth to the right, to the plugin developer of choice, that for the license, for the rights to use the Marshall name and the Marshall logo and the specific likeness to the Marshall amplifier. These are this company is Softtube, and Softtube has been doing a very, very good job of recreating Marshalls in the digital realm for quite some time. It's very stock Marshalls, I might add. Very stock Marshalls, not really adding a lot of... Am I fighting with the music, or is it just like that to my ears? I'm going to bring that back just a tiny bit more. I feel like I'm yelling over the music. I don't want to do that. That's much better. If I can feel it feels like I'm shouting. Stop shouting! Do it now! Stop shouting! I'm doing really well, by the way, and Embrini Kali Recto is free at the moment. Fucking right on. Get that motherfucker right now. Which one? Kali Recto Dual? Or is it the Kali... Or no, the Kali... I got you. Yeah. Un treno. I wish I could speak Italian just so I could listen to Talco and be like, yeah! I know he's singing about politics, but I don't know anything about Italian politics, nor... I don't even know most of the stuff about my own politics, nor do we talk politics around here. It's not allowed, even in the live chat. I don't know how to boot you out, but if you talk about politics in my live chat, I'll find a way. Don't do it. I don't care about your politics. But I understand this band speaks about politics of some extremes of some sort, as is very... I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest, we know a lot of punk bands that do that. All right. So this company's been around for a long time. I'm going to go to the 800. Now there's 4 different Marshall amps. God, this part's so good. Sorry. I just love this fucking song. I love that whole album. It's so good. Anyways, there's 4 different Marshall amps inside the box here. And if you've never heard of Mercurial Audio, I just cost you at least some money. I can guarantee it, because they guys have a lot of really, really, really good stuff. Now, going back to it, there's this really strange belief that non-licensed in the Marshall world means it's garbage. Now, there are 2 people that feel that way. 2 types of people that feel that way, and both of those people are very much uneducated on the matter. Now you get, like, I'm going to call them boomers, and I say that with the actual terminology and the actual age group in mind, not like the current kid group, the current era of young children and teenagers, and even it's the people in their 20s, 30s, etc. That it feels to me like anybody under the age of 30 is a boomer to people that are in their teens now. It's like, that's not what it means. Anyways, to the actual demographic of boomers and older users that are coming into amp sims, there's this weird... If you go to like Rig Talk or the forums where like a lot of those guys, gear forums and stuff, where a lot of those guys will hang out, it's under belief that there is this weird, really strange belief that license means it's better. That could not be further from the truth. But in this case, license is very good. Pardon me. Whenever I drink Coke out of a bottle, for whatever reason, I get the burps. That's why I like to drink out of the can during live streams. But I don't have any cans of Coke, unfortunately. Wah, 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 sad face. Now, in the case of Marshall, in the case of almost every manufacturer, analog manufacturer, almost all of those companies have either licensed their stuff to one developer or have multiple licenses out there. But most of the time, the bigger companies will go with what's called an exclusive license to one developer, where that developer will pay X amount of dollars and percentage of sales to that company for royalties for the use of the likenesses and the official names. They can actually call it the JCM 900 and the JCM 800 and the Marshall Plexi Super Lee. They can really use those names and likenesses and whatnot. So whereas the other companies have to get a little creative. Base 67, Lead 68, 800, AFD. This is about as close as you'll get. We've all seen the parody names, but the parody name to the older crowd that comes into the plugin world and doesn't understand it first, to a lot of people, the parody name looks like you're getting like Temu versions of stuff. Oh, what is this, like a Temu 800? It's funny. I'm gonna go listen to some Bryan Adams. I actually have a story about that today. Anybody that's a few of you that are on my Facebook will have probably seen it. Anyways, the point is here, these guys come in and don't understand that license doesn't mean good. It just means that one company purchased the rights to use that name. And that can be bounced around from time to time. In the case of, for example, IK Multimedia, they used to have the license for a lot of different stuff. Now that's worn a little bit thinner and thinner and thinner over the years because companies are starting to realize that, oh, there are more options out there. And, you know, IK is sure they've got the money and they've got some reach and stuff, but their tech isn't quite as good as a company like Neural DSP and so on, and Mercurial Audio. Now, there are companies, however, like Mercurial Audio or Nembrini Audio, that they just don't give a fuck about this licensing stuff. They just want, we're not just going to hand you a bunch of money for this, for the likeness. I mean, I think Nembrini has a couple of Eddie Kramer licensed things and some smaller licensed stuff, but for the most part, he's just kind of gone. A lot of developers, for that matter, have just gone forget to the licensing, and we're not even going to bother. Some companies just see it as a positive, some as a negative. Now, that's with big companies. With smaller companies, it's a bit different. This is more of a trade. Now, absolutely nobody is at Mesa Boogie is saying, well, we definitely need Neural DSP for this exposure. That's not happening. So Neural DSP, these are examples, is going to have to pay. And again, I'm not speaking on contracts or anything like that. These are speculations. This is the idea here, is that Neural DSP went to Mesa Boogie and whatever else and said, we're going to give you money for the likeness, as we explained. Now, companies that are smaller companies have a more of an open mind to some, more of a partnership, a collaboration, as opposed to just a mere licensing factor. So some companies will go with very low deals and just take, percentages of sales, net sales, gross sales, whatever it may be, and they work it out that way. Now, this will usually carry a time frame. Now, at the end of that time frame, sometimes those companies opt to work together again, like Marshall and Softtube. I'm not speculating on contracts, just speaking outwardly. And then some companies opt to switch things up and go with somebody else. So in the comments, tell me, what is your favorite licensed plugin? For me, I'm going to have to think on that. In the meantime, let's go over this. This has got a Super Bass 67, a Super Lead 68, a JCM 800, and then your average Slash amp. The Slash amp, of course, has the 34 mod, which is sort of one of those you either love it or you hate it kind of mods. It adds real nice kind of chip to things. We're going to let you guys kind of see what you guys think there. You have the option of, going with a noise gate, although I choose my own gates over here, so I'm not going to use it. It is there should you need it. They, of course, went to the platform style plugin with Ampbox, and this was one of the plugins that did not make it over. Not sure why. I've no idea. I cannot speculate again. I know that several of the other Mercurial plugins made their way over to Ampbox, but instead of Spark, they put in a different Marshall head completely with some subtle mods and some other stuff. It's really good, but this is really, really good, is what I'm saying. So when you go over there, also, if you're ever curious and you want to buy something really small, low risk, probably really cheap is the SS11X from Mercurial Audio. Just go buy it without thinking right now. Go and buy it without thinking and tell me I'm wrong. This thing is awesome. It does not have a power. It's just a preamp sim. It's also got some colored IRs involved as well. Colored IRs, meaning the tube qualities are sort of cheated and sort of baked into the IR, and you get those tube qualities anyways. So I would suggest that you go and check that out because it is one of my favorite plugins ever made. It can do anything. The Swiss Army amp in a pinch, and I love using it for tracking because during tracking, you need something that really does not going to affect your latency or anything at all. You want your computer thinking about the latency and you want to get a good solid DI down. I use this, the SS11X, and man, does it ever help out. So let's go here and see what we can see what we can do here. Now, this thing is, you're going to notice, is not subtle, this mod right here. We also have options that you don't normally get. You've got your oversampling, which we're not going to touch right now. We've also got our the ability right here to go from EL34 to 6L6 in a Marshall, which is pretty unique. It's kind of fun. I don't use it all that often because I don't really... I mean, we can try it now. And it sounds, it definitely gives it more of like that, I don't know, I hate to say this out loud and get skewered in the comments or something, but it almost gives me a rectifier feel, if you catch that at all. What it actually should give me is more of a Soldano feel, because in reality, a Soldano SLO 100 is... like, we're reaching on this one. Bo can maybe kind of help me out, but it's kind of sort of just a super lead with 6L6s, is it not? That is a very layman's terms way of explaining that. I'm sorry, but it's you're getting closer. So you can actually use this to kind of cheat and make a bunch of different tones that might not necessarily, you know, the average listener might not be able to listen to that and go, huh, what amp is that? It's very interesting. Sounds like a Marshall, but it's not. All right, going back, be able to listen to this 34 mod and really hear where it comes into play. Now with you hear that? It adds a real shimmery, but it's still very ice picky kind of thing to the tone. I'm not an expert on Marshall mods. I know when they sound really good. I'm gonna roll that back and roll up some low end to accommodate that. Take some of that ice pickiness out of it. Anytime on an amp there's a mod or a mini switch or a little switch or anything that says mid shift or mid bump, anything that bumps somewhere in the mids or the top end, I like to hit it and then go in and turn that, if whatever area it has for mids, so if it has one or two controls for mids depending on the amp, usually I like to bring the mids back and then hit that and then see what it can do. Well, with a scooped tone, sometimes that's a really interesting way to look at a tone. I also suggest that if you're ever trying the Neural DSP powered by Omega Granifier, that is a really cool thing to do with that, is hit that mid bump control and then bring your mids back to about 3 o'clock or so. Not 3 o'clock, sorry. About 3 on the dial or so. So for cabinets today, we have not selected anything too different here. This is the Mar Lynch 412 Marshall cabinet with Lynchback speakers in it. This is one of my favorite impulse response packs of all time from Ownhammer. You can go get it right now. Again, this is never going to be based, especially these shorter after work streams are never going to be based on what's hot, what's new. I'm just going to kind of come home and think, what do I feel like riffing on today like I normally do? And we're just going to film it and chat a little bit instead, because that's usually what I do as I get home and I feel like just listening to nothing and just, you know, when you've worked in a school all day and you hear hundreds and hundreds of voices all day, you just want to just kind of sometimes listen to nothing at all. And it's just glorious. But there are also some times where I come home, I just want to blast it and chat gear with y'all. So I'm going to do it as often as I can. Thanks, Bo. Appreciate you. Oh. Interesting. I didn't know that. The FDA, okay. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Bo, as usual, for the martial knowledge. Here's what I can tell you. I love teasing you guys. I just love teasing you guys when I can. And you know I love teasing you guys when I can. And I can promise you that anything I say on here, if I'm incorrect, I'll come back and correct it. And I'll apologize. But for the most part, anything I share with you guys, I've cleared it with the developer. And in this case, I've asked the developer what I can share, and they just said, kind of just do your thing and be beat around the bush a lot. So I can tell you guys one thing. There is a Marshall plugin coming. There's a Marshall plugin coming that, just to think about it, it makes me grin. It makes me happy on the inside. It makes me happy on the outside. Seeing right now. I'm so excited by just the idea that this particular developer has asked me to actually help out with. And it's using part of an idea that I've had from something else, from another product design idea. I was able to bring something to the equation, and Bo as well is also bringing something huge to the equation here. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. I'm very excited by this possibility. I cannot tell you details at this time. There will be no real serious details until the thing is going to come out, because it's one of those ideas. It's something that doesn't really exist. Not entirely. And when it comes to Marshall plugins, what the fuck doesn't exist? I'll tell you what doesn't exist. A goddamn JVM. Come on, give me the JVM now. Give me the JVM right now. Come on. Midlife crisis. That's the song that's hardwired into me when I listen to a Harley Davidson drive down my street. Yeah, I'm whatever. I'm an old jerk. Let me be an old jerk. That sounds delightful. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to turn that mod off now. And I'm going to go with a tube screamer. But I'm going to go with like very modest settings. I'm not going to go too crazy here and see what we end up with. Man, that sounds great to my ears. And the other thing is, I don't remember a lot of rock riffs. I need to go and like look up some more rock riffs. Canadian rock riffs. Because eventually CanCon's going to come get me and tell me that I need to start playing more Canadian riffs. If you live in Canada, you'll understand. But that's politics. And I was actually reminded that last time I brought it up. Someone was like, what you're talking about right now sounds a lot like politics. And I'm like, shit. I'm never going to talk about that in a stream ever again. You know what I will talk about, guys? I'll tell you right now. I worked on something and I want to show you guys. This might be loud at first, but I want to show you guys. Check this out. So this is what I've been working on it for a couple days. My bad, I hit the wrong screen. Whoops. Okay. I'm going to pause this music. Guys, I've been working on something for kind of a long time now. And I think I'm on the all face. Yep, I'm on the all face now. And the reason I'm on the all face is just because I've got stuff on my desktop and I don't necessarily need everybody seeing all my desktop stuff. So I'm going to... Give me a second here, and we're going to fire up what I've been working on lately. I was working on 2 songs the last couple weeks, a couple of funny covers with specific developers in mind. One I can tell you, and the other one I cannot. And hopefully this works just fine. Every time I'm using Winamp. Yeah, every time I go to use Winamp, it just gives me these weird problems. And they're like, why are you using Winamp, dude? Get with the new times. I don't want to get with the new times. Leave me alone. I like my Winamp. Okay. So heads up, this could be, no, it's not going to be loud. We're going to start it nice and easy. Okay, so this is something I've been working on. There's no vocals yet, but the vocals have kind of a fun surprise that I can't talk about. I've got a guest. I asked somebody, I took a long shot. I took a really long shot to see if there was somebody that wanted to sing this with me. And I got a yes. And it was like one of the funniest moments ever where I was like, he fucking said yes? He thought it was so funny that, and so interesting that he said yes. So this is a cover that I recorded in the last couple of days. You guys check it out. And on this, I was using nothing but Audio stuff. Check it out. Tell me what you think. We're going to talk about it as we go. I'm not going to do the whole thing, though. This is a Hive song. Tick, 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 boom. Using Grindstein on one side and the Audio VS 8100 with the heavy pedal on the other side. The bass is all Grindstein. So you guys hear it now. That's what it sounds like. It's kind of fun. And the other one I'll play a little bit later is an At the Gates cover that I showed the fellas earlier today. And I actually, I'm not going to show you guys the whole thing there either because I don't want to bore you with my own shit. But this one, I used a lot of Kazrog products, and I just want to show you guys one part, and specifically that I think once I put out this video, this might piss people off a little bit, just because I fucked with the classics to an extent that I think people might make some people angry. Okay, so we go from pretty tame and easygoing. Okay, so it sounds normal so far, right? All right, let's see what happens. How's this gonna go over? Anyways, now you guys get the idea of what we're doing here. It's not great, but it's not terrible, and I think it's going to be fun once I get all this stuff done to it as I will in time. All right, let's listen to some more tunes here. Not my music. I do like to show you guys what I'm working on occasionally, just for fun. Dude. Okay, let's discuss the Grindstein. I want to call it the Grindstein. Why can't I? I know it's the Grindstein, but the Grindstein sounds so silly saying it. Grindstein. I don't know. That plugin, it's amazing for bass. You have to bypass the internal cabinets because there's nothing really totally geared for bass. I would say you can use it one of two ways for bass that totally makes sense. A, you use it with your own IR loader and you load up your own bass IRs. Pick and choose. I have a nice mix of 8x10 and 2x15 IRs from Dr. Bonkers rolling in there at that point. Now, that being said, there's another way to use the Grindstein and for bass that makes even more sense. I often use it for a parallel bass solution. For that mix, I wanted to stay nice and simple. For a parallel bass situation, what I'll do is I'll use a really compressed low end kind of track. I'll duplicate my bass, do not record a second bass track. That's not the way it works. It's not to duplicate guitar, and you're not really supposed to, but for bass, parallel distortion, you're gonna dupe it. So you're gonna dupe it. If you've never done it before, there are a billion YouTube videos that explain it. One side I like to use like an older Ampeg, nice and actually a little bit fuzzy and compressed. And then I take all the high end, top end out of that. And then for the top end, I actually use the Grindstein with just the guitar, all the guitar settings. And it sounds terrific. It works out really well. So try it in both of those ways and tell me, hey, see if it works out. Now let's move over to the 800 and see what we have here. That sounds delicious. This is a great song. If you haven't heard, I can actually bring the volume back on here for a little bit. Oh gosh. For my ears, there isn't a whole lot. If someone's like, you can have one amp to do a lot of different things, what would you take? You got to keep it as simple as possible. I would just say, give me a tube screamer and an 800. And I could do that. I could work that rig and make that rig work for almost anything with my eyes closed. Of course, you'd need a cabinet. Give me an average. If I'm going to be saucy, give me an MF, Marshall MF 412. But I can't be saucy. Give me the 1960B slant cab, and I'll be all set. There's also this other theory developing that Marshalls are also boomers. Is there anything made before 2000 that's not now completely for boomers? Is there anything out there? Is there anything out there not made within the last 5 years that's not for boomers? I love the new generation. I just love it. It's a lot to adjust to. Playing the song in the background here. And there's just so much you could do with a tube screamer and a Marshall JCM 800. Preferably, it'd be great if it was modified. It'd be lovely if it was modified. Fucking lovely. But even if you don't have that, that's fine. Just crank your gain right up, and we can make this work for as much gain as we really need. Music is for boomers. Is this for sale? Let's tweak these settings a little bit. And that's the other thing. With the average 800, it's not really that picky of an amp. I've toured in a couple scenarios with 800s. And it's just the easiest amp to set up ever. There's just I'm sorry, but if you fuck up the 800, you don't belong around an amp. You just don't. You can't. It's one of those amps you can't really screw up an 800. I'm not saying for like doom metal. For doom metal, even, yeah, you could probably make this work as long as you had a fuzz pedal. Depending on what kind of doom we're talking about here. Now, extreme metal, for when it comes to like a Marshall, some folks out there that believe that Marshall can't do high gain. Yeah, it can. It's just got to be modified. What do you think the Fortin Meshuggah is? What do you think the Fortin Cali is? Those amps are just modified Marshalls. They can do extreme levels of high gain, and they just need to be modified in a proper way to do it. I'm not going to say a million, but there are many different ways to modify. Hello. How are you? Good to see you. My missus just came home from working at a radio place for the day, and she gets to come home and listen to me talk like I'm on the radio. A bit of Ramones for fun. That wouldn't have been correct to use the Tube Screamer though for the Ramones, or even this amp. Let's go over here. Obviously, to me, I'm pretty sure this, as Bo would probably mention, that this amp's control panel has been simplified. I don't believe that the lead series, Super Lead, had just the 2 inputs. I think it was like the 4, right? I could be incorrect. I probably am incorrect, in fact. So how's everybody doing? That is correct, but I think what Marshall would prefer to do rather than add their own mods would be to just, I think what it's more insane that they haven't really done is sought out the most crushing high gain mods. Keep releasing these amps that can do high gain but can't like the JVM. Can it? Yeah, it can. It's got enough gain, but is it giving people that the sound of what they want, which is that heavily modified Super Lead Plexi 800, whichever you'd like to call it, from that family? That's what they really want. So if I'm working over at Marshall and I notice that, you know, all these companies are making money off these amps. Like, for example, a very good example of the amp I'm talking about would be back in the day. They should have seen this coming and seen like the Dino Kazari's Metalhead, the famous 800 of Dino Kazari's from Fear Factory, that was stolen. And they should have seen that, or even just like the Eddie Van Halen amps, for example, in the day, and said, okay, well, we should start releasing stuff that's just like this. Like, these guys, people want this sound. There are people leaving, especially when you see, like, if I'm there right now in the modern era, I'm gonna go and buy myself a Fortin Meshuggah and have it shipped to some random employee's house. And then I'm going to dissect it, pull that motherfucker apart, find out exactly what Mike Fortin did to it to make it sound so crushing. And then I'm going to do that. Not exactly. Obviously they're going to change things to be, according to copyrights and not get sued and trademarked, whatever. All that. They're going to avoid all that because they're Marshall. They're smart. But there's not a hell of a lot of ways that they can, that Mike Fortin can protect what he did to the Fortin Meshuggah any more than Marshall can protect what he built his platform on, etc. It's just like, I'm probably incorrect somewhere in there, but just allow me to explain further. I'm going to go and get that amp. I'm going to find out what they did. I'm going to copy it to the closest degree possible. And then I'm going to release it. And I'm going to try and steal a bunch of high gain, big names for high gain. I'm going to walk right into that. I'm going to walk right into that market, and I'm going to tell my AR guys, go and get me this guy, that guy, this guy, this guy. And if those guys say no, get me this guy, that girl, this guy, that girl, this guy. Go give them Marshall money. And then instantly, overnight, that's what they could have done for Jeff Loomis. But instead of doing that for Jeff Loomis, they just didn't. And then, of course, Jeff Loomis doesn't really use Marshalls full time. I think he was just using that for Arch Enemy, or what was the story there? Anybody know? Yeah. Anyways, the Marshall sounds that I like are not necessarily in the high gain realm. I think the amp is much more known for being a visceral rock machine, and having that, you can always tell a Marshall tone from a distance, usually, anyways, unless it's like a Marshall clone, Marshall copies. Now, I also want to point out that the reason I'm not using the cabinets in here is because this is how I would play with the plugin after work on my own. This is what I'm going to be doing in streams. When I come home from work, I'm just going to kind of jam on whatever. We're going to chat about whatever, and it just happens. It happens. On the weekends, we're going to be doing more of the mega stream type thing where we're going to lengthen it up and have more of a big show and more of a point, and we're going to go after this and that. More of a planned effect. These are just going to be show up and see what happens, folks. So in this particular case, yes, all these impulses right here that you can turn on with these lovely switches and all these mics that are provided to you. You have 3 mics and you have a number of cabinets, so 4 cabinets, and you have files that I believe it looks like it says EQ. So this really could be just like raw files versus EQ'd and touched up IR files. These are all from Redwires. And if you're not old enough and you haven't been here long enough to know who Redwires is just one guy. So I'm going to say is, you have no idea. This company was them and Ownhammer for a very long time. At the top of the IR heap, it was Ownhammer, Redwires. You were either using one or you were using both. Gosh, I don't know what you were using. There's a lot of good freeware. There always has been for IRs. That was one of the first things that I think came out that had really great free options from day friggin' one. There's always been great freeware IRs out there. So yeah, I've got tons of them. Tons. Go and look it up. The 7 Deadly Sins IR pack. It is not illegal. I've heard that mentioned before. It's illegal. It's pirating. You're encouraging pirating. It's not pirating. Shut up. Stop being triggered. It's not. It's all fair use stuff that were added. All of this, that's how this grew, was that people got their hands on it, added their own stuff to the mix because they wanted their IR work to get out there, and then just threw it back on the internet. That's what they were doing. They would send it to other people else with their own stuff added. And that's how the snowball grew to be so big, is that it's all fair use. It's all open source, fair use, allowed. So don't lecture me about pirating. I know all about it, and that is not pirating, and it is where it is absolutely encouraged. Go and get the 7 Deadly Sins IR pack. Sure, there's some crap in there that you won't use and you probably want to delete. There's some stuff that you're probably going to want to not delete, and especially if you go and buy the SS11X from Mercuriall Audio, because as mentioned, it's no power. Anything that doesn't have a power section and you want to kind of trick the ear into thinking maybe there's a power section, colored IRs are the way. And a lot of the old IRs in the 7 Deadly Sins pack, there's a lot of colored stuff in there. Whereas the tube quality is baked right in, thus coloring the file. So if you're looking for some of that, check that out as well. It doesn't hurt if you use it with something that there's already a tube type. It does create a bit of a different bird. I would suggest anything that does have tube quality and tube character built into it. I would not suggest using a colored or baked in IR with something like that. Just use it with stuff or where you can turn the power amp off potentially is another option. That's another one. All right. So yeah, we're living Old Corpse. How's it going, Bo? Have you seen the rare Marshall that Bjorn Galot in Flames touring with? No, I have not, but I've seen his new guitar that's got a bottle opener on it. Congrats to him. That's pretty cool. It's too bad though. I wonder how does Bjorn Galot feel I'd like to ask him, how does it feel nightly, on a nightly basis? How does it feel forcing Chris Broderick to play mostly rhythm guitar? It must be the weirdest thing for him. Wouldn't it be the weirdest thing when you're playing lead and you're the lead guitar player and you're all like, and you're just giving it, you're absolutely hammering on that fretboard with the top echelon of your skill set on a nightly basis, and you're shredding the shit out of it in your mind, and then you look over your shoulder and there's Chris Broderick half asleep playing the rhythm, just like getting paid pretty good bank, I would imagine, to be there. He's a hell of a nice guy, but he's not playing any lead guitar. It's so weird. Isn't that weird? I'd love to ask Bjorn. I'd also love to see him get his own amp sim at some point. That'd be really cool. I don't know. Could he sell it on his own? Archetype in Flames? Let's see it. All right, we were supposed to turn that off. Hear that? That's how you know you've got two IRs back to back. Hear that tubey tunnely sound? That's the tubey tunnely sound, and that's what you don't want. If you hear that, you've got an IR into an IR. And everybody's made that mistake a billion times. Everybody's done it. Everybody's done it. I did a whole EP when I was originally, this was years and years and years and years ago. When I first got into amp sims, I had no idea. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And I remember recording a demo, just a couple of songs that had like IR on top of another IR, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get the guitar to sound good. Oh well. Only a few in the wild. Why would you tour with that amp? That's baffling to you. Isn't that baffling to you? Why would you tour with an amp that's worth that much money? That makes no sense. If that shit gets stolen, you have to sleep with that thing. You are going to be lugging that thing. You are going to be sleeping. It's going to be beside you in your dressing room. You can lug that case. You're going to get your roadie. Where's that road case staying overnight? Is it staying in the trailer? Is it staying in the bus? Is it staying right beside him in the bed? How much insurance do they have to pay for that particular item? You see what I'm getting at here? All the reasons. But despite the fact that you could drop, like the roadie drops that thing one time. Not even drop, but like just even enough to jar something loose. And it's like, and if you fuck it up at all, like, man, it just seems like such a risk for such a, I mean, I know it probably sounds rad, but have it sound rad in the studio, dude. You know what I mean? Have it sound rad in the studio. Get someone to build you, like, send it to Mike Fortin and have him make you the craziest clone possible. Or Marshall. Get them to build him a clone. Something. It's their own high gain modded JVM. Well, so why don't they just build him a proto? Build him a prototype. Yeah? No? I don't know. By the way, guys, sorry about this mustache. I'm trying to make it work. Are you going for a walk? Just gonna go down back? All right, cool. If you find a can of Coke on your way, bring it home. Oh, all right. She's not gonna find a can of Coke. Built-in noise gate and filter knobs. That's pretty cool. I bet you that's like setting up for a proto of some regard. But you know what I mean, though. I'm glad you mentioned that amp. I haven't heard of it, but I'm glad you mentioned it. And maybe they're starting to come around a little bit more on the whole high gain thing. Like, you know, they're not just designing something for like Joe Satriani that's going to eventually be used by other people. His lead channel gets used for rhythm. You know, like it's not like that. Like build a metal amp, a one-channel fire-breathing fucking dragon. You know what I mean? Nothing else. Maybe a clean channel. Fine. 2 channels, I guess a lot of these metal, but maybe if not, maybe not. How about not? If you really want a clean channel, tour with a second amp. No clean channel involved whatsoever. Make it like the Fortin Meshuggah, where it is just set to absolutely annihilate the universe all the time. There's no purpose other than crushing universes. You know what I mean? Sure, if you want to throw in a clean channel, it's fine. But are we going to be honest here? Has Marshall ever really been known for the quality of their clean channels? Not really. I'm not saying that they don't have a good one or two out there, but have they really always been known for their clean channel goodness? Not really. This would be trying to set the bar higher and enter a new realm for a store-bought, a stock of this, having the stock ability to buy an amp that would compete with other high gain amps. Like something that they could offer an amp sponsorship to somebody really legitimate, like a Meshuggah, for example. Walk in and be like, hey, you guys want a modded Marshall? How about we give you a modded Marshall? And we'll actually call it the Meshuggah. We'll call it the Marshall Meshuggah. How about that? Drive a big old dump truck up to right up to the door. Beep, beep. Fucking write it open. Yeah, are you telling me those guys aren't gonna jump at that? You telling me? Really? I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Which artist do you think would be great to move to jump over to Marshall if they had like an amp like that? Which amp, what guy do you think would be great for a move such as this? Tell me in the comments. I'm going to take, I'm going to take a quick break. Guys, I usually don't, I was saying I was just going to do an hour or maybe like 70, 80 minutes for these and do it straight without a break. But I need a quick break. So I'm going to take a quick break, come back in about 3 minutes, and we're going to finish this up with some news on V2, NAMM Universal V2, what we've kind of sat down and decided on, and what we've been thinking about for the process. Again, not really talking about features and everything else. All I've really said, this can be a multi-panel design, and it will be a paid plugin. But NAMM V1, NAMU, because we call it internally, NAMU V1, will remain free and will always remain there, and we'll always have the same toolkit and pack and IRs and captures with it. And we may actually add to that as there are more and more capture and creators that are coming to us asking us if we would include their stuff, and we would love to if it's really good, and if it's something represents a piece of gear that we don't have represented in the pack, especially we'd love to do that. So touch with us if that's you. For the V1 pack, V2 will be a paid plugin, so we're looking at right now everything inside the pack that's going to come on V2 is going to be hopefully made internally or licensed, or we've made something work for the scenario. Not all creators from the V1 pack will not be included because there are some people that may disagree with their content and their creations being used for a paid plugin without not getting a slice of the cheddar, etc. And there's not a lot of cheddar to go around. So we're going to explain why we're doing it paid. I will explain a couple different things. I will let the guys talk a little bit about it without actually giving away features in the comments. If you have questions about NAMM Universal at all, if you're a fan of it, tell us in the comments. Even if it's mid, we're not talking about it at all. You just chime in, you're brand new here, you want to say something, you've never been. Hey, guys, I love NAMM Universal. Just here to say, hey, thanks very much. Chime in. Give us a like and a subscribe. That's what we're here for. So when I come back, I'm going to explain stuff about NAMM Universal. Also going to be explaining stuff about some content moving forward and some ideas that we have cooked up. Guys, give me 3 minutes. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. We'll see you in a couple. You love Marshall. I'm back. How are you guys? It's been such a long time. You love Marshall. Thanks, Thack Mild. Digging around playing some pocket pool here. Have a drink of my liter of cola. It's sad times. My Coke's almost gone, man. Just kidding. All right, let's turn this down. Fact Mild, how are you? Are you a plugin user or are you just dropping in? We've had people that are on both sides of things. We have people that are not plugin users that have become plugin users by watching our content. And we have people that have dropped in that just kind of wanted to see what was going on, see if we were playing any tasty riffs, which at times I can play some tasty riffs. Today, not as tasty. You want some Zach Wildtone? I could possibly oblige some Zach Wildtone. Maybe. I'm not really going to be able to do it with this guitar, mind you, because I don't have EMGs in here. But yeah. I do think there's the ability to go with the... Yeah. Is there? Yes. Yeah, there's an OD. They've got the Boss OD in here. I can't remember his settings either, so I'd be just making an ass of myself if I even tried right now to make the Zach Wildson. Although, find me in another stream. Find me at the start of another stream. I would love to do another. We've done it before on the old channel. The old channel being the Honest Amp Sim Reviews channel and resource we used to operate. If you're a fan of our old stuff, you will like our new stuff. And if you're new here, what do you wonder? What is it that we do here? Well, we talk about all things that surround Amp Sims, all things that surround in the Amp Sim universe, all things that surround and gravitate around Amp Sims, whether it be signature artists or gear or analog gear or tone chasing or pickups or really anything. We talk about it here, and we love talking about gear, plugins. And one of my favorite things to do is to speak on the relationship between analog and digital. That I think personally, man, that relationship is dwindling. That analog, that relationship that people need to be nurturing, where their profiles, captures, and the plugins and everything else, they need to be nurturing where this stuff came from. And that once upon a time, there was somebody that, worked their ass off and burnt the shit out of their fingers with a soldering iron trying to build this first version of this particular thing that was modeled for you to use. So it's always nice for people to know something. What I hate more than anything is like talking to a guitar player that I like, somebody that's really good, and talking like, what do you use? And then we'll talk about Axe Fax or Kemper. Okay, that's cool. What profiles do you use? Like, what are your favorite amps out there to profile? Or to, what's your favorite gear? And they'll be like, I don't know, bro. I just use this thing called, like, there's one 5150. And I'm like, oh, cool. Which variation of the 51? Like, people that just don't know about the gear that's been modeled, but really like the sound. Come on. You got to know something about it. Even if you're using profiles, captures, amp sims, whatever it is, we always like to talk about the relationship between analog and digital. And how you can use it's, and how about another thing that we like to do here if you're brand new is we like to preach the use of both analog and digital. We're not out here telling you that amp sims are gonna completely replace all your gear and that you're never gonna need your Marshalls anymore. You're never gonna need your amps anymore. This and that and the other thing. We're gonna try to show you how analog plus digital, instead of analog versus digital, you want analog plus digital, and you want those two things to work together and to help your creativity and help whatever you can do. Whatever it is that you're into, whatever it is that you do with your extra and your free time, plugins are going to help you be more creative on hours that analog gear doesn't always allow you to do. And that's one thing about them is recording as well. I haven't recorded with an analog amp in a long time. I don't miss them. I do not miss putting a mic on a speaker. And as far as the quality versus goes, for me and my needs, I honestly don't see a lot of a difference. But that's me and my needs. Everybody's got their own needs and can think how they want to think. But for me, plugins have definitely, and amp sims have replaced a lot of my amp collection. That used to be quite decent, I might add. I used to have 5 or 6 tube amps around and a lot of pedals, and now have absolutely nothing except for this guy right here. And this gear, this is just sits here to scare the rest of my gear. Pardon me. This is a DoD death metal distortion with a significant amount of dust on it. And it's just there to scare the rest of the gear into submission and make sure that the rest of them works. It's honestly, it's only going to be plugged in to get captured. I've only got it sitting there because I really want to capture it soon. So looking to figure out how that works so I can add something finally to this toolkit as well. That's cool, man. I appreciate that. And you know what? I have no judgment to people that don't try plugins whatsoever. None whatsoever. If any, oftentimes plugin, stuff like this. And even if you don't have the money, for example, this is a free plugin that the guys and WaveMind came up with called NAMM Universal. There's a lot of Marshall inside NAMM Universal. So we're going to get rid of Spark. And I'm going to turn this off here. We're going to get into NAMM Universal and some of the free tones that are going to be available in some of these. So this is actually a Zakk Wylde capture of the Zakk Wylde Marshall amp. Interesting. Why am I all quiet all of a sudden? There we are. This is obviously the low sensitivity gain 8, and it's paired with an angle cab. And there's a lot of presets that I put together. There are 300 coming out from myself as well as some more from others. We're going to be coming out in a preset pack that will be able to be used with either V1 or V2. I'm hoping that for the V2 version, though, I'm going to be able to, it's going to be tough because with V2, I'm not going to be able to redo these presets because we're not going to be sending this along with the plugin itself. So it's going to be interesting. If you have presets from V1, and everything from V1 should work with V2 if you have presets, etc. Although we are admittedly ironing a few things out with the presets right now, as a couple things that we noticed over the last little while. And this is free. I can hit the power on the dirty tree. And so you've got all kinds of different stuff in here. There's all kinds of different Marshalls. This is a Bugera, but this is basically a Marshall clone, if I understand it correctly. To me, I think it sounds pretty darn good. And if you haven't checked it out yet, please do check out NAMM Universal, and the presets will be coming along shortly. Here's the thing, in the new one there will be some post effects, but in the meantime, for the free folks out there, work in a DAW, hit this free delay right here from Mercuriall Audio, and instant you have a post effects section. Get a little more bite right here. Not too bad. And that is just this is all free. Everything here is free. And even when we do the new pack, this will be a pack that'll be making the trip as it was done by our own boat inside the house here. So we couldn't be more excited to bring you V2. And why is V2 coming so quick? Well, I can see how somebody out there, and I can see the comments coming. Oh, they just wanted to like give us the free one so they can sell us the upgraded one. I see the ploy here. And actually, it was just the opposite. This was intended to kind of just be as is, and just here you are, and here we go. And then we got to start thinking, like, if you've ever seen this show Silicon Valley, it's a perfect reference is when they make the box. If you've never seen that show, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm gonna stop. So perfect reference is when they made the box. They just couldn't make it bad. It's like we just want to make this better. But the improvements would have ended up running us into a scenario where it's putting in a lot more work for what it would end up being a freeware plugin. There's a lot of work and a lot of people's time involved, and the artwork is definitely, I mean, for Lewin, he is working for several developers. So for him to take time out to do something like this, that's time. Time is money. Time is money. So we've got the idea to charge a very small price for this so that the coding and the graphics charges and everything, those can be covered. And also the other small needs that may be incurred in the process. So that can just kind of as it is. So users of V1, if you're satisfied, that's fine. You just keep V1 and you keep kicking ass with it. If, however, you'd like V2, it is going to have some upgrades that I believe that a lot of people are really going to like. So that being said, there are going to be some upgrades made to V1 as well, as we mentioned in the last stream. We are going to be adding a couple of small things just in general. I think the screen is pre-packed. We thought of ways to try and add a bunch of different things, but we couldn't really figure out how we wanted to add what we wanted to add. So here we are. Sounds pretty good. A little bit bright, but and I can just crank that back a little tiny bit. Yeah, man, the captures that you guys did in-house came out sounding terrific. Eddie made some amazing stuff. The Metal Tune guys made some incredible stuff. Bo made some awesome stuff. Philippe obviously has some incredible stuff. So really, we're not going to lose a ton when we put out V2 for the new pack, but we're trying so that everything that we're using is going to be made in-house. We don't want anybody thinking, okay, well, they're just selling stuff. I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be part of that. So we want to make sure just for this one, this pack, this V1 pack is going to remain available. You'll be able to download it likely, and a preset pack that will be available with that pack that you'll be able to kind of bring over and use it with V2, but we are not including it. The V2 toolkit will be very different. Hopefully it's going to involve some really great stuff that is done in-house, being that we've got a lot of guys on staff here, including Chris at Wavemind, who's not on our staff, mind you, but a guy that we are working with for this plugin. Chris at Wavemind has some terrific stuff. He's got a DI box and the ability to do stuff like that, so he's also going to throw his name in. We've got a local, call it an honorary local friend here that is also looking to throw his hat into the ring. Luca from Audiority wants to throw out fuzz pedal captures for us. So lots of really cool stuff that are coming down the pipe. We can't wait. I can't wait for it. It's going to be all fun. It's not going to be expensive though, guys. I want to make sure that you understand that this plugin is going to be very affordable. Okay? Even paid, this is going to be like I think it's going to be, I mean, don't quote me on this. It's just, we're going to mention the ballpark we're discussing, because I think why not be transparent? We're thinking about the $9.99 intro, $19.99, full-time price, and just leaving it around there somewhere. I think that would be pretty fantastic. I think that price is going to be fantastic. I think that allows most people that are really even the most vehement and the very strictest of freeware users will see that, maybe see the upgrades and say, you know what, those upgrades are really for me. I don't think I would use any of them, so I'm going to hang back. I just like this V1. It's kicking ass. It's great. I'm not all that interested. No problem whatsoever. However, if you're on the other side of things and you go, wow, that's a lot of extra stuff for $10. Let's do it. I love Nano Universal, and I want to continue to use it. I want to see what they've got going on with this new section, all these new features. I'm all in. $10 is not much for me to spend. Done. That's cool as well. Either way, whichever version you decide to use when it eventually comes out, we're stoked for you either way. I want you guys to understand that we're really just happy that you're using our creation, and it feels great. The press and the media that so far have been awesome. Everybody has been saying that's just the nicest things, and man, we couldn't be happier with things so far. So I'm talking about Marshall stuff today, and a lot of the man, I couldn't be more excited about just having the ability to be able to use free Marshall tones to this level. This is not a Marshall tone, but if I want, I can just use this preset. All right, then I can go into my Arlington Audio. Okay, the Marshall Zach Wild. I want to go into the high. Ooh, what happened there? I want to go into the high sensitivity and go to gain. Let's go to gain 7. And we're not going to turn on the 808X just yet. That sounds pretty tasty. Now I can go the either way and use the tone stack here. We'll be relabeling it either way to tone stack, just because, gosh, it was just no fun skis and the no funsters couldn't have it that we didn't want to use, that we put kind of a strange name on it. And this is the tone stack, and if you notice, adding it just adds more teeth. Little out of tune there, little out of tune. I don't even think it's gonna be 10 euros, man. I'm talking about 10 US dollars. I think it'd be somewhere around there. It's a huge bargain, you're correct. But I just definitely want people looking at it as in, we just wanted to upgrade it because we couldn't leave it as is, rather than being like, oh, they just wanted to get us hooked. And, you know, kind of like, what was that company that did the ToneLib thing where they got everybody hooked on the ToneLib GFX or whatever the thing was called. And then all of a sudden they made it paid, and then all of a sudden overnight people just stopped using the software. I didn't hear anybody. I haven't heard anybody talk about that software in a very long time. Let's try more gain and instead use the Screama to show you guys the little out of tune. And I'm only going to be on for a couple more minutes, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me. Thanks so much for hanging out. Appreciate each and every single one of you guys. I know that we don't tend to have a lot of people in these streams, but that's the reason I'm going to be doing a few more, making something constant where I'm here talking about amp sims, whether it be bass amps, guitar amp sims, keyboard software. Like, as long as we don't get too crazy with like talking about EDM software and stuff, let's not get, I'm talking about stuff based on analog gear. Like, we can definitely discuss various types of plugins that are modeled from, you know, authentic keyboards and electric pianos and stuff like that. That often comes, that, well, not often, but that does come up. Drum software comes up lots here. So if you've got theories on drum software, talk to us about it. If you need help with drum software, talk to us. We'd be happy to push you in the right direction for both cost effectiveness, it's the best that there is, the best there ever was, kind of scenarios. Happy to point you in every direction that we can to save you money or get you sounding the best, or somewhere in between, depending on what we can squeeze out of the budget, okay? Don't be afraid to ask us about pickups. Don't be afraid to ask us about anything here, because it's normally myself and a number of the staffers are usually kicking around in the comments. And on top of that, we have Pedro and we have a number of other folks that are always in streams that are very knowledgeable that can answer a lot of your questions, unless it's like me and my own personal self specific. Okay? Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you guys. I'm going to try to be on tomorrow. But if I ever tell you guys I'm going to be on tomorrow and then I'm not, the next day is a guarantee. I can promise you. I'm not going to try to get my pace back up, because in December, I would love to do another streamless where I do like a lot of streaming in like almost like we're going to try to do almost every day in the month of December. That would be fun. It would be fun. I'm going to have a big break. We're going to have a lot of fun. Or if I miss a day, to do 2 on another day. Ooh la la. Okay, so watch out for me daily around between 4 and 4:30 Eastern time, PM Eastern time. I should be kicking about around that time, and if I'm on, I'm on. If I'm not on by 4:30, I'm not coming on. Okay, I am not going to make people wait around all day, but I won't be on before 4 ever. If that helps at all. I apologize for the lack of convenience in my schedule. I'm trying my best. I love being here, chatting with you guys, and hopefully I get to do it a lot in the future. My challenge for you today is to just go to, I'm assuming everybody listening or watching this has tried out NAMM Universal. So my challenge for you today is to hit this tone button right here and go, how? And you've got it right here. This is all the new stuff that's been made, especially for Cali. Wonderful. That's the other thing I have not done. I want to be honest. I have not done it yet where I've gone and just used any captures from any creator out there. I have a huge library of them, and you will too as soon as you get onto this website, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. Be straight up with you. You're going to end up with a lot of these things, okay? Some of them will be good. Some of them will be bad, but you'll have a lot of fun in the process. I can tell you. And they can be fed right in here. I'm going to do some streaming where I can bring out some of the other stuff that we didn't end up with. But for now, the creators that gave us, and were nice enough to give us stuff from NAMM Universal, we're going to showcase their stuff first for a while, okay? But just head over to Tone Hunt, see what else they might have that you can feed in here to NAMM Universal to make this even more fun for your own personal needs. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you guys next time. Yeah, have a good time. Make something great. Cheers.